The green flag.
You see the pace car out in front, a rolling start. Pace car pulls away now. We've got the starter in front of us waiting for a green flag, and these things really sound the business when they put the metal down to the floor, let me tell you. Green flag, we're racing. Now watch the dash to the first chicane. Alan Grice gets the boot into it, and listen to the horsepower come down. Alan Grice now's got Charlie O'Brien right up beside him, right in behind his bumper bar as he goes into the chicane. Look at this, NASCAR's in a big, long, high-speed snake there.
A 9, 10, 11, 12 car train going through that snake of the chicane, and I must tell you, they're up through the gearbox by now as they're going to hit that front straightaway in just a moment. You'll see speeds of better than 160 miles per hour, American terminology, and they're going after the top guns today.
Alan Grice, look at the way he's setting the car up, trying to balance the car because it wants to move around under brakes. Slams it through the left-hander, heads up to the beachfront now. Another big long straight coming up, and Billy, that's a big problem because every time they hit the end of these main straights, they've got to work the brakes. Now the brakes start to fade after 2 or 3 laps. They've got some water coolant on the brakes to try and help, but the track temperature, the air temperature is making that a tough assignment.
A very difficult assignment, and you can see it already affecting some of them. You'll see it even affect worse as we go along. Grice has got about a 5, 6, 7 car stack. Here's the battle for second. That's Terry Fisher now. He pulled a stupid move yesterday, but he's looking to win this race today. Coming up on O'Brien on the inside.
Charlie shuts the door on Fisher, the American, but let me tell you, the American ran second down in his last appearance at Calder. He is a fireball. He likes to get in and rub shoulders. O'Brien won't mind that, and Grice loves that. He just loves to rub shoulders. So at the moment, Alan Grice, Charlie O'Brien right on the bumper bar, and Terry Fisher waiting for both to make a mistake.
When we get on board in just a moment up a straightaway, we'll take you a ride on board the Terry Fisher automobile and show you just how fast these 3,500-pound steel chariots known as the NASCARs go here on the Gold Coast of Surfers Paradise.
Alan Grice has been to American race. The thoughts of the Americans with him and the equipment he was running.
He was very good, and the Americans have gotten quite worried about the Australians because they've caught up, as you say in our terminology, Darrell, with what the Americans are doing NASCAR racing.
Charlie O'Brien's car absolutely fishtailing there because he's got to jump on the brakes and pull all that weight up. Charlie O'Brien driving like a man possessed, but Alan Grice is where he normally likes to be, way out in front. Remember this year, he won the Bathurst race last year in a Holden. Really was the talking point of the whole motor racing world. He put Holden back on the map. They've now drawn right away from Fisher.
Now we're riding on board one of our camera cars, and we're looking back. We're looking at the rear view of the Kim Jane automobile, and I think that's coming from the Steve Harrington with the Holden Commodore. And now we go up front on the Harrington car, and we watch them bob and weave in those 3,500-pound stock cars as they shuffle up through that tight corner of turns 1 and 2 and then get ready to move up into a straight. Now O'Brien, Darrell, has seemed to have found some more horsepower since yesterday.
Oh, no doubt about that. When Grice came off the circuit on Friday and had a shunt, Charlie also had a major engine problem. It was spewing water out everywhere. They took it away, and I think it was down on horsepower yesterday. But this is the Terry Labonte car. This won the big race at Calder last year. It's a brand new car, virtually, put together by the NASCAR people in America. It's a great package. Oh, 91 up into the gravel patch.
Walter Gill sliding wildly in a half-cocked Hawk Breath sponsored automobile. He's in the marbles. We'll get a yellow on that one.
Well, that's the first time we've seen the cars going in there at speed, and it's a braking problem. See that? This has been a problem for these cars. They've been racing in Australia on the ovals. This is the first time they've been on a street circuit, and they really, most of the drivers have had problems with those chicanes.
They really have, and it's hard to dictate how you're going to bob and weave and gear down. You miss one obstacle and you're in trouble. Now Grice and O'Brien are still racing. There will be a yellow in the area of the course where Walter Gills has spun into the marbles down here.
Well, look at that as they come down into that area. We'll wait for a yellow flag. We're very surprised if they leave that car there. They're getting into that area now, and Charlie Bryant's dropped off the pace. Look for a yellow flag. You see a yellow flag, waving. The racing stops. They hold positions until the cars move. There's the position.
The yellow flag is only out, Darrell, in that area of the course. They're full green the rest of the way around now.
Okay, so we're still racing, but they've got to take a lot of care through there.
Oh, yes, very much so, because if another car gets into the binders, locks it down, he'll go creaming into that other car, which is setting into the marbles. There's that yellow flag in that area of the course. I do not see a yellow here at the start-finish line. Flagman directly across from our television commentator's booth. Gracie again with O'Brien second. There's the yellow. Looks like we may be going to get a full course yellow, Darrell, as you were saying. They're now showing the yellow in other... No, George Elliott. Elliott has gone out to the wayside.
Elliott, he's had troubles all weekend, Elliott. He's lost the car. It seemed a very loose motor car. It was moving all around the track.
He has, and you know, he's been down on engines and parts all year long, and I don't understand that, because George Elliott and his brother Ian Elliott are quite successful here in Australia.
Alan Grice still leading the way from Charlie O'Brien, and I tell you what, they have just ran away and hid from the rest of the pack. Two talented drivers, two Queenslanders, and they would love to win this here first time out. The concrete walls, look at the chicanes, look at the big cars bouncing through there. They make the best noise, these motor cars, don't they?
They truly make that thunder in paradise here from Surfers Paradise on the Gold Coast. Now O'Brien tightens up on Gracie in the corners. Gracie uses the gear to pull away in the straightaway. Now you're looking at $30,000 at the moment for Gracie, 20 back there for Charlie O'Brien. See how O'Brien tightens up in those turns? Now watch Gracie pull away in the straightaway.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He has the legs when he can get the power down, but I think Charlie O'Brien's car brakes a little better. It doesn't look as skitty, or it doesn't move around as much under brakes as Grace's car. But look at that. Once he gets a little bit of space and room to move, Gracie does pull away.
And that's pure horsepower too, Darrell. Might say that the O'Brien car is handling better than Gracie's. Gracie has the horsepower. O'Brien has the handling in the corner.
No doubt about that, because look at this. O'Brien now into the chicane. You'll see him close up here. You can now see that black racing line. The rubber from all of the racing here in the past 3 days has taken this green track, and there's the rubber we're talking about, as these cars absolutely go through there sideways, laying rubber down and giving the drivers that racing line. You can pick it from the high shot there. It's a black line running right round this road circuit on the Gold Coast.
We've completed 4 of 10 laps. There goes O'Brien again through the corner. Gracie still trying to keep that distance of about 7, maybe 6, cutting it to 5 car lengths in that corner.
And Billy, the Surfers Paradise beachfront has never looked like this. These cars are literally 50 meters from the sea.
And that means going to get a little salt air through the radiator and the air breathers. But you know, it doesn't hurt these NASCARs. When they get that sea breeze, those drivers take a sigh of relief. It's quite hot, as you mentioned. Inside the cockpit of these cars off that firewall, it gets up, in American terminology, better than 140 degrees. These drivers in a 400-mile race normally lose 12 to 13 pounds.
There's the shot from the high surf, the building we have some cameras on. And it's a great shot too, as they're coming up to some traffic now. This could be very interesting, because if Grice gets balked, O'Brien has the chance to swoop.
They're about to lap the Tony Hallett automobile. Once they come around Hallett, they will begin their lapping of the back markers. Now Charlie O'Brien has again closed that gap on Grice. Will Grice still outlast the horsepower? O'Brien's got the handle.
Did you see Grice? Then he acknowledged the fact that Hallett got out of his way. He just waved him as he went past, saying thank you.
That is they use a lot of hand signals, even on the ovals in NASCAR, on the tracks back in America and on the road courses. You'll see a driver do this in the rearview mirror, meaning, hey, I'm coming to the inside or outside, or move over, I'm coming by.
Back on the Gold Coast Highway now. This is the rundown from the Southport Bridge for people who've been up here on holidays and wondering where the circuit is placed. This is the run into Surfers Paradise from the Southport area. They come down this enormously long straight past the broadcast area into the first chicane. That's the chicane now. Grice doing a great job there. Charlie O'Brien throwing the car through. He can't afford to lose any more ground. He's got to stay in touch. Second chicane there now. Look at Grice's line. Oh, Charlie gets the thing sliding around. Now they come down the rest of the straight, hard on the brakes, and they go hard left, and then back on the beachfront.
We're about halfway. 5 down, 5 to go. The track has got a lot of heat on it. They're running these Goodyear slicks, as you know, Darrell. And with that heat, it makes that track very slippery. We've still got yellows in various areas of the course, so the drivers are taking precautionary measures in those areas where the George Elliott car has hit the wall just lightly on there where the tires are.
In a pretty dangerous spot there too. By gee, you'd want to have a lot of concentration coming through that corner. Here's an incident coming up as we have a look at the cars coming in slow-mo, just running out of brakes. Car 6, John Laws.
John Laws there. We get he had Steve Harrington's running the 16 car. John Laws in the 6. That's a Ford Thunderbird, and he just locked it down and had nowhere to go, Darrell.
Well, O'Brien, what can he do, Billy? I mean, he knows now that Grice has got the legs, and again, 77 into the wall.
That is the Steve Coughlin on him, but he took it hard. Look at that car. He literally nailed that wall. I'm sure we're going to get a course yellow now. We've got cars scattered every which way.
Well, this is going to make for an interesting race because Billy explained the course yellow. Let's have a look at the incident here. Look at this. The car gets out of shape.
They collide.
Gets T-boned. No. 3 cars involved, and that is a big accident. That is a major accident.
He went over the hood of the car that was in the marbles already. Literally jumped that car when he hit that chicane. That could have been a catastrophe. What a collision here in the midst of going down towards turn 1.
Well, Billy, now we've got to say, have the organisers been wise to leave that car in that gravel patch originally?
No. And I'm going to have to agree with you, Darrell. That was a move that we should have put a yellow out. Watch it again. Now, look, watch it. Here's the collision between Clutcher. Now, watch him clear. He jumped. He goes airborne over the hood of the car number 91 that Walter Gills had put there earlier. Now, you won't see that too often, Darrell. That is television history in NASCAR racing. One jumping the other. Here's the car coming to rest in a wall. That car is damaged for good.
But the one thing that strikes me about that is look at the way the car is folded around and done its job. Gene Cook is the driver that was involved in the white car, but look at the way the car folded around the driver. They're built to sort of sustain high-speed accidents, and that was a very, very important factor in that accident.
Was it ever? And they're very safe. And look at the oil, though, that has run out of the 71 car. That driver's out. He's okay. He was an innocent bystander, Darrell. He got tagged by the car that was driven, which is a team car to George Elliott, the Steve Coughlin automobile. But the innocent victim is the money factor on that car that was left in the chicane in the marbles. It's destroyed over the hood and the front end of it.
Now let's have another look at this in a second, because this is an amazing motor car accident. We'll see it in normal speed. Billy, here he comes. You can see under brakes the car really starting to drive now. That's how fast it happened for him. What a ride. What a ride in 77 for Steve Coughlin. He will never forget that. Now
he hit that outside wall, ricocheted off of it, and come back into the inside wall, and he had the binders locked down before he came to rest backwards. I'll tell you one thing, if we look at that, we see Fisher going by. Now you can see all over the course, they've got metal and debris and rocks and gravel. It was, you know, truthfully, to be honest, when you got oil and everything down, that makes this course and that area of the chicane is bad enough as it is. It's very slick down there.
But Billy, that's the whole reason. There he is, so he's okay. I'll tell you what, okay.
That is Steve Coughlin getting into the ambulance.
Boy, he won't forget that one in a long time. But see the wire fencing above Coughlin's car, the way it's angled over on the top of the brick wall. That's the reason that fence is built like that, to take any debris. And that's the only thing that saved a lot of those people from being sprayed with some fiberglass parts there.
Exactly, because, Darrell, that car was 4 or 5 feet airborne when it came over top of the hood after colliding. Now, you've got to remember, you don't see that. That's a 3,500-pound car. These Indy cars that are coming up in a little while only weigh 1,800 pounds and really will be flying through that area.
Here we go again, Billy. Now have a look. See, the car gets out of shape here, and here he glances into Cook. Well, when I say glance, he's really smashed. But look at that. Gets launched. That would be one heck of a ride. I mean, you're never going to have an accident much worse than that one in a NASCAR.
It's like launching the space shuttle at Cape Kennedy. That 3,500-pound stock car became a rocket ship. And a rocket ship it was when it went right on into that concrete wall and then ricocheted back to the inside.
Right, amazing stuff here on the Gold Coast. The NASCARs, boy, have they turned on some excitement since they turned the wheel here on Friday. They've been kissing walls at amazing speeds. But I must say, I am a little surprised that that original green and black car was left in that gravel pit. That could have been a lot worse. And I say this to the car builders: congratulations, the way that car was built. There's the
That's the 91 of Walter Gills. And it's the motor, I mean, just sheared off over there, and it was nothing wrong with that car, Darrell, had they moved it when he first originally went there. But let's speak first of the safety of these NASCARs. Every driver was okay and walked away. However, there is about 60, 120, there's $180,000 worth of equipment that has just went down the wayside.
Yeah, look at that. That front end of that car has just been crunched. It's looked like a big giant has stepped on it.
Well, that was the bomb pad. That's the bomb pad right there.
But now watch the front of the car come off here. Here it is, Cosson's car. Bang. Look at that. And I mean, the way that car's been built, that's testimony to just how tough they build these NASCARs. Look at the angle of the wheel there. I mean, it's launched itself back on the track with the wheels virtually square on. That would have shoved some speed off before it hit the wall, and then, of course, went back in. The catch fences did their job. The car builders have done the job. The driver's done all he could do. I'm a little worried about the original car being left there. But anyway, everybody's all right. 4 laps we've got. 4 laps. They're showing a signal of 4 laps. We're still under yellows. Now, Billy, for people in this country, yellow flag racing is still a bit strange. So just run us through what's going to happen.
All right, what is happening now is it is a 10-lap race, and they are counting the yellows. So we've run 6 laps now. We've been 1 full course lap, but you notice the pace car has picked them up and slowed them way down so we don't waste a lot of our racing and green flag time for the fans here and the fans watching by television. There we see the damage to the 72 car that was victim, and that was the Bruce Parsington automobile. But we've got a lot of safety vehicles on the track. Now they're going to have them, should have them, cleared away within the next full lap or so, Darrell. So by lap 7, at the latest, lap number 8, we should be back under green with a 2 laps to go. Now, you see the traffic outside the racing arena, but they still got the traffic now inside the racing arena. You see how they've severed the highways here on the Gold Coast in Surfers Paradise. Amazing. What's going to take a little time is they haven't gotten the green car out of the marbles. And surely they're not going to leave it there now, because after what has just happened, a major, savage altercation on the Gold Coast.
Okay, we'll leave the action here for the NASCARs just for a moment. Back to you, Kenny, in the studio.
Well, Alan, I've got to say, that's just one of the most spectacular incidents I've seen in motor racing for many, many years. And when you first look at it, you couldn't explain why it happened.
Well, I mean, the guy just came in far too quick. To me, it looked like he had major brake fade or brain fade, one or the other. And he's come in way too quick. He was actually very fortunate that the front of his car hit that curbing, because it was able to lift it up just enough for him to be able to clear the car that was in the sand. If the front of that car wouldn't have lifted up, that would have been a real head-on situation. It could have been a lot worse.
Yes, and the old Hog's Breath car was just sitting there in the gravel pit minding its own business, in pretty good shape, ready to race again at some other date. Now it's going to be a little bit more expensive to get out there.
Not many. The old Hog's Breath, I'll tell you what, you wonder what struck him.
He's got bad breath now. I hope you're enjoying your afternoon in paradise here on the Gold Coast, where the NASCARs are doing their thing. This is a race for all you feminists out there, because piloting the #1 car is 22-year-old tearaway named Terry Sawyer. In fact, she was lying 15th when the race was stopped. As Anne-Marie Sparkman reports, this self-confessed tomboy has already made history with her first NASCAR victory.
Back in front, Terry Sawyer. This little girl has got what it takes. Make no mistake.
In February 1988, the name Terry Sawyer hit the spotlight in motorsport when the 19-year-old won her debut Oscar race.
So the 19-year-old girl has done it.
Such was her skill in this competitive concrete jungle that Bob Jane offered her a full-time drive in the tougher school of NASCAR.
I think the first race I had in the NASCARs, my first thought was, this separates the boys from the men. Like, you know, if I make a mistake, they're really open and straight out, you know, you made a mistake. And if you do something really good, they'll come up to you and say, you know, that was really good, you know, we're proud of you. And so they're a really good bunch of guys.
After struggling for years to pay the bills, Terry's life was transformed. Publicity, packaging, and a paid trip to the States for more experience.
That's great, that's good.
But it was at Charlottesville, North Carolina, that Terry would face her toughest test. She was involved in a tragic accident that resulted in the death of a driver.
It shook me up for a couple of days, the accident that happened, but sort of probably deep inside, like I don't really know, but I think deep inside it's made me a harder person. And it just, like, I've already experienced something like that, so I don't think you could experience anything worse.
No one could ever doubt Terry's courage or commitment through highs and lows.
Terry Sawyer goes in, gets all out of shape, and Sawyer loses the Commodore, spins up high and boom, straight into the wall.
This pioneer has refused to give up her dream.
Do you worry more about injury to yourself or the possibility of death since the accident?
No. No, you can't. I mean, if I thought that way, I wouldn't go out and race. I would have given it up.
The ultimate reward finally came 2 weeks ago. The girl from Mornington, Victoria, was competing in only her third NASCAR race in Australia. In a war of attrition at the Thunderdome, she kept her cool.
The pressure was really bad, so I sort of had to stop looking in the mirror. If I kept looking in the mirror, I couldn't have, like, driven. So I just stopped looking in the mirror, put my head down and just really drove for it.
Terry Sawyer, the first NASCAR lady main event winner.
I sort of haven't got my feet back on the ground yet, but you got to concentrate on the next race, so don't let it get to your head.
Now Sawyer and her Pontiac will be taking on the boys again at the Gold Coast.
I think we'll be competitive because the car is really, really good. But when the flag drops, who knows what happens.
One thing we do know, Terry Sawyer will be pushing it to the limit. This NASCAR newcomer is one tough competitor.
Yes, and there is Terry asking no favours, competing one-on-one and doing a darn good job at that. Lying 15th when this race was interrupted by that very, very bad accident. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured. The cars, of course, have come off much worse for wear. But Alan, you've got to be impressed with the young lady. She's, you know, got long years in front of her and obviously a very good driver.
Well, too right. I mean, she's very young. This is a very tough sport. I mean, those cars get really hot inside, and dare I say it, you have to manhandle them around as best you can. Yeah. And she's there holding her own. There's no doubt about it. And
there is a strength factor there too. I mean, not just talking about the heat. You're talking about very much a physical sport.
Yeah. Well, they're not exactly a small, dainty car to drive. I mean, they are. You've really got to manhandle them around. They're reasonably heavy on the steering. There's a lot of load gets through the suspension on those bankings because, as you can imagine, 170 mile an hour, when you hit those banks, you really get forced down and the steering tightens up or stiffens up, heavies up, whatever you like to call it. And, you know, to do 400 or 500 miles, it's tough work, and she's proving to be quite capable, obviously.
All right, Terry Sawyer, one of the up-and-comers in NASCAR driving right now. Let's go back to Darrell Eastlake.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, Billy, they're back on the circuit in a queue, and I guess we'll be racing pretty soon.
I think we're going to get a green with either 1 or 2 laps to go and to make the 10-lap distance, Darrell. If we do, we're going to see one hell of an Aussie shootout on this 4.5-kilometer course.
$50,000 up for grabs. I'm looking at the flag man in front of me. The yellow is still out. The stationary yellow is still out, but I can see he's reaching down now for another flag, and it's a green flag. They're going to be racing soon. The green flag is there at the ready, but the yellow is still out at the moment. There's the flag man there. There's a yellow flag in front of him, and he's reached down for a green one. So I guess I'll go around one more time. The green flag now he's unrolling. He's got it in his hand, so we'll wait and see what happens.
Should get the green, I hope, the next time by. We should get a full course green too, Darrell, because I think they've pretty well cleared away all the cars and all the fluid.
Yellow flags have just been pulled. We'll have a race on our hands when they come around this time, and they're not that far off the start and finish line. They'll be coming onto the Gold Coast Highway pretty shortly. There's the green flag. So we're going to get a race start again pretty shortly. 2 laps only left, $50,000 up for grabs. Now, the interesting part of all of this is the fact that Charlie O'Brien and the rest of the field get the chance to close up on Alan Grice, so he's going to do it all over again.
It tightens the entire field up, and you are absolutely correct as we see the Robin Best, the Tasmanian driver's car, go by, and Ian Thomas. The thing that's going to be interesting, it's going to be a $20,000, actually a $30,000 shuffle to see who's going to get through that gearbox and get back down into that corner first on this last or next to last final lap.
Alan Grice has definitely got a power advantage. There's no doubt about that, but O'Brien knows that. O'Brien, if he can just get the car and the power down quickly and he can close that gap, I think O'Brien's car has the chance to run with Alan on the twisty bits. He certainly can't keep pace with him once Alan gets braked.
No, O'Brien is handling in the corners. Byers has got the gearbox and the horsepower. Now look, they're side by side.
Okay, side by side, coming onto the Gold Coast Highway now. This is the start-finish line. You'll see the pace car pull off in a moment. There it goes. Get ready for this. Well, really, it's a $50,000 drag. $30,000 for the winner. $20,000. Oh, Grace has come into the pits.
He may have a tire cut down. It's an Aussie shootout. Down to the wire. Green flag is up. We need to find out what is wrong with Gracie's car. O'Brien is our leader. We got one lap to go, Darrell.
Cannot believe it. Grace just took off into the pits. He's been circulating all that time and had to just shoot into the pits. Car 12's there also. Let's come back with Charlie O'Brien in front, though.
We're trying to find out what's wrong with Gracie's car. A sudden death pull off into the pits. We'll get you an update. O'Brien is the leader. He gets through the corners. We're on lap 9. 10 laps make the distance in the NASCAR Aussie shootout on the Gold Coast.
Mike Oliver now in second place. Oh, Mike Oliver with a big slide too. Car 38. Watch this as they come around him. He can't move the car.
A blocked track almost. Fisher gets by. Kim James came through in second. The Goodyear car, the Pontiac. That is Barry Graham. Graham has collided with that car. There's Harrington. Harrington's in that mess. A wild fracas. 1 lap to go, Darrell. I told you the marbles will roll down.
How could you do this every week? This is a paddle beater's nightmare. I don't believe it. There are cars going all over the place. I'll tell you one bloke to drive one of these, all right. Dwayne Tyres.
Exactly.
Out of the personality race. He would be sensational.
Then we see another crash. Terry Byers is involved. 3 cars. There's Harrington's car. We have damage. Savage altercations are all around this 4.5 kilometer. And there is another wreck. That's the Barry Graham sheared car.
Here we go again with a replay of this now. Watch this. He gets out of shape. This is Oliver. Car 38. Gets around. He does a really good job actually just to hold it there. Holds it there, trying to let the field go through. You see it come out a bit. Now we have a major problem. Harrington
hit Fisher in the rear end. Then Harrington got hit by Barry Graham. Boy, unreal.
I'm not trying to sort it out. Charlie O'Brien's in front and he's still going with a straight car. I don't believe it. Charlie O'Brien wanted to win this race so badly. And at the moment he looks the goods. Yellow flag being waved, so this race will now be seen out under the yellow wave flag. No doubt about that. Charlie O'Brien is going to be quite a rich boy this afternoon.
Did he get the checker at the same time?
No, he did not. There's a white flag being shown, a yellow being waved and a white flag being shown.
1 to go then, as Darrell is telling all of you in the television audience. This has been one that you don't see often in Australia or in America. It has been a showdown. And later today, you'll see O'Brien win the Oscar race here on Channel 9. He picked up $20,000 there. He's about to pick up $30,000 more when he gets back. A $50,000 payday for the Australian Charlie O'Brien.
Who's that in second place? Because he's just inherited $20,000.
Kim Jane in the Goodyear car.
Oh, another one.
That's Ian Thomas. Ian Thomas, the Australian, is just, and Terry Sawyer just gets by the girl driver.
This is like roller derby. I remember roller derby. This is the same.
Outstanding. What did I tell you earlier today? When the money's on the line, these NASCARs don't play games. Here's Ian Thomas, locks the binders down, gets in the gravel, shuffles it and scatters it all over the race course.
Well, let me tell you, the IndyCar drivers have been looking at this circuit getting destroyed, saying, we're going to run this thing.
That's exactly right. But they'll have it all cleaned up because we'll have about an hour or so to get ready for IndyCar racing. But, you know, in no circuit, can you beat these NASCARs when you're watching them on television for action, Darrell?
Max Dumsey, I'm trying to work out who's first, second, and third. I know O'Brien's first. Kim Jane is second. There's no doubt about that. Max Dumsey, he moves up into third place.
What a break.
Everybody else is just in pieces around this racetrack.
You're absolutely right there. And look at the gravel they're going through on those slick Goodyears.
Well, we said before at the head of this race that the chicanes were a problem for these cars. One, most of them set up for oval racing. Now, there was a conversion job done on most of the cars to run on street circuits, but that's a little expensive and some of the drivers couldn't do that. They run out of brakes pretty quickly. We're looking at another one of these incidents at the moment, trying to pick up the car.
That's Barry Graham.
Barry Graham's car. He goes into a wild spin coming up toward the tyres. And we're waiting for Harrington, because that's the goal. That's the car Harrington was involved. That's where
He was
that
involved in that tag. He really was.
Okay, Charlie O'Brien, Kim Jane in second, Dubsy in third. So Kim Jane has just walked out with a lot of money. Car 28. Oh,
That's Terry Byers, the 26 car. And look at George Elliott. He nailed Elliott.
Well, we mentioned that car was in a bad spot 5 or 6 laps ago.
They left it there. Byers had nowhere to go. Look at the oil and fluid on the track. There's George Elliott walking over. Terry Byers has taken his helmet off, but there's 2 destroyed race cars.
Well, Terry Byers has had a fire, a blow-up, and an accident this weekend. And I'll say this again, that car of Elliott shouldn't have been allowed to be left there, because we made mention of that too. That was a problem, and of course the original problem goes back to the car left in the sand trap. Enough of that. I'm not an organiser, but it's cost a lot of people a lot of money.
They're coming for the finish, the straightaway.
Coming down to do the finish, Charlie O'Brien, let me tell you, wanted to win this so badly. He wouldn't have liked to have won it under these circumstances, but I know he put a lot of money into the car. He's got $50,000 back for his efforts this afternoon. Kim Jane comes in second, Dubsy in third. So there you go. Jane has also picked up 20 grand.
What happened to Alan Grice? Were we able to find out from any of our reporters?
Just speared off into the pits. Unfortunately, Grice, he wasn't too happy. He came up to the start line and speared off. Well, I don't know about you, but that's about as much excitement as I can stand for a while.
Now remember, Darrell, I do 400 and 500 miles of these things every week, and there's Alan Grice.
All right, Alan Grice finally got back on the circuit. I'm confused. I really tell you, I'm confused. O'Brien, Jane, Dubsy, Bowers, Series, and Fisher. That's how they finished. We'll take a break. I'll have a nervous breakdown, and we'll see you later.
Pit lane at the Indy Gold Coast Grand Prix weekend, and we want to know what happened to Alan Grice, and the man who does know is Charles Stewart. Charles?
Yes, Ken. Well, Alan Grice will have to be one of the most unhappy people down here right now, I imagine. He got a puncture in his right front tyre, sorry, his left front tyre. That one puncture cost him $30,000 because it cost him the lead.
All right, and I guess we can't get to speak to Alan Grice, and that's fairly understandable. I would imagine Grice wouldn't be in the best frame of mind because he needed that.
He did, and I think he had it all sussed out, and that was a $30,000 puncture.
Oh dear, yeah, and all it was on the yellow flag just run around.
Yeah, well, I mean, towards the end, of course, Charlie, to see those yellow flags, he knew that all he had to do was just trundle around at 5 mile an hour, and he picked up $30,000.